How you been?
Been excellent.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. What's making it excellent?
I don't know. That was just my canned response to give out
Oh,
to the listeners.
all right. Here we are, episode three, Black and Biqueerious, and
How are you? You didn't. We didn't even get to that part. How are you doing?
um, I feel like not giving a canned response. So,
So let them know the no.
I'm tired,
Hmm.
but I'm grateful. We're busy, which is always a good thing, but um, I actually just want to be on vacation. Like this world is so fucking
We
stressful.
gotta be like Orlando and Sexico right now.
In Mexico,
That
this
motherfucker look like he just been bathing in sex oil all
how the
day.
hell we the stars and he's signing on with the
He got the
goddamn
glow.
glow.
He got the glow on. But you know what I was thinking. I know. I said we shouldn't talk about something in the past,
Hmm.
but I do think. I mean, my canned response was just to be, just
Yeah, to
just
get
being
us in.
funny and shit, just whatever. But seeing all the shit that has happened
Hmm.
over the last little bit and all the shit
Hmm.
that's going on, I'm insulted. I'm insulted that Juneteenth, that
Hmm.
literally has teenth in the fucking title, the overall holiday in the day is on the 20th. Like that shit is like an extra little slap in it because the whole reason for fucking Juneteenth is because we got the message of freedom late. And now y'all motherfuckers is gonna celebrate late.
Cause they want
That
to.
shit is mad disrespectful, yo. Word is bond.
Yeah, it is because well, like in good American fashion, it has to match capitalism and it has to
Yep.
go with their pay scales, and we also have to make sure. Now, the funny thing is that they say like it's to make sure that the most people get the day off, so they observe it on a Monday.
The most people get the day off if you observe it on a Sunday, and all the people that have to fucking work on Sunday are also off.
Who usually happens, the people that usually are working on motherfucking
It's
Sunday.
black folk.
Exactly. And then the thing about a late holiday, or celebrating this particular holiday late, is because this particular holiday is about being fucking late, about them, getting the news to people late. So it's like we don't want to do your observation this time around,
No,
and they don't know what Juneteenth is about, anyways.
they don't. Because every time it's on the news, they're always just saying like the day black people were free, and it's
Yeah,
like no, that was the Emancipation Proclamation, and I would
and I
think
want that day off.
that day should also be off, and I would think America should celebrate that shit.
Yeah.
Celebrate Emancipation Day.
Yeah, but they're like, no, y'all do that on your own. We're doing.
Emancipate yourselves. Bob Marley
Yeah.
said do that.
There's a lot of things that are very insulting right now.
Word.
It's like every institution in this country is finding a way to remind you,
That they don't give up.
no, and buy this T-shirt. That's what
Buy this
everything feels like.
T-shirt or this ice cream. They had that Juneteenth ice
They did.
cream. They had the other that watermelon salad shit.
They had
That they
watermelon.
yeah they had some company had some shit. It was like a watermelon salad and they called it like a Juneteenth salad.
Wow. Well,
It
anyways,
that shit was wow. See, I told you it's just
yeah,
fucking insulting.
it is.
And it's like yo, I feel like years down the line it's gonna be as insulting as St. Patrick's Day is to Irish people and Cinco de Mayo is to Mexican folk.
Yeah,
But like racistly extra on
right.
top of that. You know what I'm saying?
It will be, because it's starting out that way, and yeah, I don't know. And there's a little bit of it that feels a little, I don't know, how do I say it, like a catch-22, because I'm seeing a lot of beautiful things being celebrated. A lot of people's talents are being taken to the top. It's an extra day to showcase just the beauty of our culture.
Hmm.
Our children will be taught about Juneteenth. Well, I don't know. Does it fall under
No, but
critical race
it
theory?
does fall under critical race theory. They are not going to be teaching about
Oh,
why Juneteenth is Juneteenth
they'll
in a
be
lot of
off of
these schools.
school. So,
They're like, we can't teach you anyway because
yeah,
you're not in school that day
right. Because we observed it on Monday.
on Monday, and they're not going to teach you about shit on a Friday.
True. So, well, we'll at least have it on the calendar to be able to speak to. So, you know, but to me, those little small celebrations don't feel anyway like a reparation.
It's not. It's a very slight, small appeasement.
Yeah.
They think. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm not a piece.
At all.
But anyways, so we still black
Still,
now.
can't change that.
No, we can't. But what you can change if you're up for it
Mm-hmm.
is your sexual expression.
Very true.
So I wanted to talk about today, or we wanted to talk about today. I really want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
is being black and biqueerious.
All right.
Do you want to chat a little bit about how we came up with that title for today's podcast?
Sure.
All right.
Tell them.
No, you tell them.
You tell them.
Okay.
It was your idea.
I know, but I like when you explain my ideas because then I know that they're good based on how it flows out your mouth.
Oh, I got you.
But we've had this topic on the dockets for a while, just really talking about specifically black and being black and bi and all that comes with that particular sexual expression. And I don't know. I've always had this theory that we're all bi, like not just black folks, just everybody, at least bi curious. And then as we were talking about having this discussion, you were like, well, should we have a guest that identifies as bi? Which then sort of like had us kind of talk about our own sexual expression, which I know we're going to get into, and how can we not be our own experts on sex and sexuality, which I think,
For sure.
I think is important that when we open up to the term queer, it's like so all encompassing. And I think it's really interesting that even in our queerness, we're thinking about, do we need an expert?
Yeah.
You know?
I think also people kind of queer scale, like have like queer scales of like all of these things. And then also I think when it comes to gender expression, there are some parts of gender expression and, who you're attracted to, who you have sex with. Some things are just innate. Some things are also, what we like. What's that? The nature nurture
Yes.
kind of argument. Like it goes all across the spectrum, and I think that all people express those things differently. Like I think there's this like misconception that everybody has to fit into a certain box. Like some people are like.
She said, "Don't label me. Don't box me in."
I think sometimes that people feel that you have to fit into a certain box, and I don't think anybody fits into boxes, even how people get into those boxes. You dig what I'm saying? Like some people might be, I was born this way, period. Like as far back as I can remember, I have been straight or gay or bi or whatever, however you define who you are.
Right.
And then I think there are some other people who are just in that same kind of box that are like, I was one way, but now I know I'm this way. Or, like there's so much that like people are always trying to make it have to be one way because like with most things, some people need to prop themselves up for their own shit. You know what I'm saying? So like I'm this way, but everybody's this way too. Like
Right.
you can't question how I am because everybody else on the same shit. When I don't think it really works like that.
So how does it work for you? Like talk about your if you're open to it. Share your journey into what you define as queerness for you.
Well, I guess how like with the sexual identity thing, I definitely define myself as polyamorous, and I have started defining myself more as queer as I've understood more things. And like the poly part, like I could say like I have never remembered a time when I was like I think or I want to be a monogamous person other than when I was taught by people that being poly was wrong. You know what I'm saying? So like I've always felt that way. And then I think it's the opposite for my queerness because I've always been told that being queer was wrong. And like, like I could think back to like my father was like just if there's a phobia out there for another human being,
Hold
she letting it go.
on. She said that guy.
My father was and is and has every possible phobia you can have about other human beings. Like he might not be scared of like fucking ants or spiders or whatever the
Mhm.
fuck
Mhm.
people scared of, but when it comes to people, he's xenophobic,
Mm.
homophobic, transphobic,
Mhm.
blackphobic, whatever. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? So like he will always say like the most harshest possible shit you can imagine.
Mhm.
So even for things that are not sexual at all, like if you're a man and you cry, then somehow you're the F word. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So just kind of like the times that I was around him, you know, those things stick to your head.
Yeah.
So, it took me experiencing life and opening up my own mind to things to even experience certain things that people that are straight
Mhm. Mhm.
experience, like telling someone you love them.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Or hugging fucking a woman. You know what I'm saying? Like everything was like, so I think like as I've grown older, then it's been the nurture of
Mhm.
the world around me, people around me, and my own experiences. So
Mhm.
like I think like how I've found my own boxes are like the two opposite ways.
Yeah. Okay.
What about
Um.
you?
So I hate those damn labels, and I share a lot of some of the same sentiments. I mean, like growing up, in our household, there were like there we didn't even have words for.
She said, I don't got words, but I got that. She gonna need to change.
Yeah.
We gonna have to pause. But she
Okay.
gonna go sleep now
She's like, your families were horrible.
though.
Royal Fetish.
So in my family, we couldn't even say words like even the F word as an insult couldn't be used. You use a hand gesture to say that someone was gay or not straight.
Hmm.
Not like to even speak the words were just like forbidden. It was so bad that my mom used to use like, is that person like that?
Mm.
And so I grew up thinking that people who were not straight, and the thing about it is that in my household we couldn't even talk about straight relationships or sexual expressions. So definitely not any that were non-traditional or um, accepted in the Catholic Church,
Mm.
really. So for me, um, I don't know. I never really challenged or ever never really even allowed myself to be open to the idea of being bi or gay or to even explore the norms of being or to explore other experience as a woman, like
Word.
even like relationship wise, like of course I'm going to be with one man in one particular way, and participating in activities outside of that one man like were bad. There's
Hmm.
not even another word to use just other than bad.
Yeah.
But as I've got older, I found myself doing like teenage years. I found myself doing things that people would consider gay or like lesbian style activities, but to be seductive to men.
Hmm.
Though, so it still was that sort of like trained idea of like women that are gay or that are lesbians do things like it's for men, like a
Yeah.
threesome. You would do things with other women to be more of a turn on to men.
And I mean that's how the shit is marketed
Hmm.
through most media. Is
Yeah.
always like there's a certain kind of, not even lesbian. I guess
Mhm.
it would be a bisexual woman
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
is
Right.
attractive for
Right.
men,
Mhm.
and then but if a woman is a lesbian per
Mhm.
se, they always present them as being one type of like,
Yeah.
like I don't know, like flannel shirts and
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying,
Mhm.
and not being able to communicate. Like it's there's such like a very particular stereotype that they have of lesbians that she don't like.
She doesn't, and I think like for obviously everybody knows who Royal is, so you don't need to make yourself known. But I think it's cool that we're having this discussion. Hang on one second. I think it's cool that we are having this discussion with our newborn daughter as we're talking about how closed-minded our parents were.
Yeah, word.
And
Well,
you know,
I can't say both of my parents. My mother is
well, yeah.
definitely not
No,
closed-minded
at
at all.
all.
At
At
all.
all.
She love everybody and accept everybody, and I think that that's where, you know, the thing is for me though is, you know, growing and I think that this is kind of what we were just talking about. Like as a man, any little thing that people perceive that you do that is off of whatever that straight and narrow path is considered gay.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's completely like it destroys you, right? Or it's presented like that shit destroys your straightness, right? But like women, if there is something that you do that's lesbian that is still hot to men, it can't be lesbian and not hot to men anymore though.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like men still have to have that thought like, yeah, but you're still missing a dick there, so I have a chance. You know what I mean? Like they can't men like even if you look at porn for mad years, like tribbing was never in porn until like recently. You know, or certain presentations of queer and lesbian women was never in porn. They had to look a certain way and almost like they were just waiting for the man to show up.
Right. They were prepping for it. Right. So yeah, that was my socialization. And I think, then I started to sort of have a better understanding about like what other types of presentations or that people, less about the sex and more about the love and, even just realizing that I had different ways that I wanted to express or how I was attracted to people for different things. And I started to learn that really through men. Like, oh, this guy is like really, really, really nice. I enjoy spending time with him, but I'm not sexually attracted to him. Or I'm super sexually attracted to that person, but don't ever open your fucking mouth. I don't ever want to spend any time with you after we are done here.
Word.
And then that started to allow me to sort of see like, oh, like I actually have those kind of relationships with a lot of people, women specifically, like, oh, like I get that same excited feeling to be around you. I want to spend time with you. I want to know you forever. But like, I would even want to be physically close to you, but I still would like to have sex with men too, And so it's like, oh, wait a minute, that sounds like bisexuality. Could I be bi? No, you can't be bi. Like, you don't want to like, and then here go those messages again. Like, no, because you wouldn't want to just have a relationship with her alone for like 6 months, like it's just all of that kind of that shit. Yeah. So I think the merging between looking at relationship styles, how you don't have to like, I didn't have to see that monogamous model with every single person that I was attracted to, helped me understand a little bit more about how the sexual model could be more fluid. When people ask, especially since we're in adult entertainment, you get approached with a lot of different sexual opportunities. And for a while I was just like, oh, am I gay for pay? Can you just check that box because it'll sell? And then I was like, oh, am I now fetishizing people, and am I like diluting what it means to be gay, to be lesbian, to be queer? Am I lesbian enough? Like all of these, and it sort of made me feel uncomfortable using any of these type of labels because I don't feel like I'm doing the queer community justice by being in this super straight monogamish polyamorous relationship that we're in, having some really strong traditional views about being a woman, and so it does, or it was very muddled for me. And so I love the name of this show, by Queerish, or what is it, Biqueerious because it
Queerish, that's the show coming out on ABC though.
is it.
No, I'm joking. It just
Oh,
sounded like it fit with all the
by
other Jones.
I love the title of this show Biqueerious
Mm-hmm.
because it allows us to have like a range, which I don't think that as Black folks, bringing it to the Black part, we are allowed to have range, and it gets even smaller as a Black man.
Yeah.
And so how you were just saying, like if you did anything, so like just to lighten it up, let's kind of talk about what are those little things that in our culture are seen as not straight.
Yo, when I think about so when I was like teenage years and the shit that we used to say if somebody like anything, if you just didn't like what somebody else was doing, you'd be like, nah, that shit gay, bro. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And then there was the whole like pause because it's
Ah,
people wouldn't want to say something that sounded a certain way, but I always used to say like if you have to go through the shit in your head to then say pause, like that's a whole fucking lot.
that's
That's
a
a whole lot to
lot.
do. That's
Yeah.
that's dedicating a lot of time to something. You know what I'm saying? And then I think like even just thinking like yo on some fighting shit, someone call you the F word or whatever, like you fighting.
Mhm.
That's like you have to fight.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that it is kind of like lined up, but I'm trying to think of like some examples, like shit, the colors you wear.
Yep.
And now people don't give a shit, but like for a long time back in the day, if you wore pink, if you wore purple, and purple's the color of royalty.
Cameron set y'all free. One of him,
Once he showed up with the pink fur coat, and
he
people
set
were
y'all
like,
free.
"Wait, but he's Cameron." You know what I'm saying? So I guess they was then like, "Oh, that's okay then." But back in the day, I mean, people used to question him based on wearing that coat.
Yeah.
You know, shit. People got everything pierced now,
Mhm.
but how depending on how many piercings. I mean, like
Mhm. Or which ear and
I'm going
stuff,
back
right?
to how I was raised.
Mhm.
My father was like on some like any piercings on a man.
Yeah.
Period. Don't matter what side you got it on or where it's at. You know what I'm saying? So,
For women, if you played sports, and we
yep.
just watched that amazing documentary on, I don't want to mess up there.
On what was that the '96 Olympic
Mhm.
team,
Yes.
the women's dream team.
And those are some beautiful women.
Facts.
And some of them were lesbians, some of them were bi, some of them were straight. I don't like, I think maybe only one or two of them talked about their
I
relationship.
think they only made a point of it because
Mhm.
the NBA was trying to, and this is the dumbest fucking shit. The NBA was trying to get men to watch WNBA by making them sexy instead of just saying these women are really talented at basketball.
Yeah, you like
Because you know
basketball?
who
Watch
watches
this game.
basketball? Basketball
Basketball,
fans.
right? But that was for me. Women in sports, in particular sports, it's like too rough.
Hmm.
That's too masculine. And I know, baby, it's not true. You can play any sport except for boxing.
She got them hands though. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
true is also said about men. Like if there were
Yeah.
men that were on the cheerleading squad or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, or men that were swimmers, or men that did gymnastics, or all this other kind of stuff, they would automatically say,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he wouldn't do gymnastics unless he was gay or whatever.
I was a cheerleader, and the couple of boys that were on the team, they were not gay.
They was way closer to them cheerleaders than y'all want to give credit to.
They may have been Biqueerious. But yeah, I mean, and that kind of, that's like, it's so silly. And when you kind of think about like how none of those things matter. And so
Bro.
I'm super proud of this generation, how they have done, well, I mean, of course, on the shoulder of the generation before them and the generation before them, but really are breaking those gender identity politics up.
Hair, hair,
Oh, man.
hair
Oh,
is
yeah.
another one. How men wore their hair, you know what I'm saying, until Snoop brought back the Ron O'Neal perm, you know what I'm saying. Up
Yeah.
until that point, people say that, or the way your hair was braided,
Mm-hmm.
if you had certain shit in your hair or not.
Mm-hmm.
Women,
Mm-hmm.
depending on their haircut,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
she's a lesbian because of that haircut. That hair shit only rings true for the side buzz cut for white women that they fuck black men. That's the only haircut that I've ever seen that's always on point.
It's always accurate.
I'm just fucking with
Um, well, that's about right. When you watch the drafts and they show the kids at home with their parents,
you.
that's kind of when I do my research on that.
When you think about it, none of these things actually have to do with sexuality.
Nope.
None of these things have to do with who you love, and they don't have to do with who you fuck.
Right.
Those are just your own personal choices for your clothes, your hair, your whatever, you know. But I do think that there is this fear, and I think it exists more with men than with women, just because the way, you know, chauvinism and patriarchy is set up is that your manhood is defined by your sexuality. Your manhood is defined by like all these particular boxes that you have to check. You can't just be a man.
Right.
You have to be this type of man. You have to be, you know, all these other things. So it's like, you know, shit. Think about not even too long ago. All of a sudden now, everybody eat ass. Everybody get their ass ate. Everybody fine with that shit. But there was a point where people were like, you let your girl eat your ass? That's fucking gay. Like, wait, explain that to me. You know, but even before that, if you go back even further than that, you eat pussy, you gay.
Oh goodness.
That's even further back.
Yeah.
But it's like, how?
Yeah.
How does that? You know what I'm saying? So it's like all these things that are literally the opposite are making, but they make people uncomfortable because it's like, okay, you're being vulnerable in a sexual position that makes you vulnerable. You're not the dominant. If you're, I mean, you could still be a dom, like we know that shit, but like in their mind, like you're not being the forceful person.
Well, that's the key word that you just used is forceful.
Yep.
Because, you know, honestly, when you're eating my pussy, you are in control. So, and a lot of those positions of that are supposedly vulnerable, I mean, you know, maximum pleasure is being controlled in that situation. So, but the idea of forceful, and that makes, you know, I mean, it ties in so perfectly. Like whenever we are trying to categorize someone in a way that they're like weak or small or have some type of dominance over them, we're looking for, you know, like things that are symbolic of forcing someone into submission.
And that ultimate hatred that men have, and that chauvinism and in that patriarchy, that's like, if they call you a pussy, they're trying to say you're weak, but there's not really anything that's weak about a pussy. But we'll get into that in another episode.
Yes.
But, you know, like that, but I think that goes with the same kind of thing of how, you know, the insult, trying to make gayness an insult, or somehow, you know, you're gay. That doesn't mean you're not a man anymore. You're still a man. You know what I'm saying? So literally when they say it, you're a man who likes other men. You know what I'm saying? But it still like receives this negative connotation.
So how do you think, you know, why is this, I do not know the answer to this. I know that you're going to break it down so well.
Oh, pressure.
Yeah, just a little bit. So y'all will get ready to take a history ride, because I know that you're going to take us there. But like for white men and white women as well too, it's like they get this period of time in which they can explore. You know, and I don't know exactly what that time frame is, because they seem to even do it like when they go on their boys trips and things of that sort, where there is a little bit of a joking insinuation that they may be participating in some acts that would be considered gay. You know, or for women, I remember being a counselor at a camp, and I was a young lady, and the kids were preteens and teens, and they were like, well, as long as we don't do this with boys, then it's good. But they didn't necessarily consider themselves
Like they were still virgins if they didn't.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Or like they couldn't get in trouble as long as they were like fooling around with other girls in a particular way. Where for us, you know, that would like any type of sexual activity with anyone, but especially if it were same sex, and or even married women. It's like I got wasted and made out with my girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
and that, and I don't want to overgeneralize that this is the way it is for everyone, every non-black person's experience, because we know that there's homophobia in every single community.
True.
But why is it so particularly restrictive that for black folks to have any type of uh, experience outside of heterosexuality?
I think it's a couple of factors. I think one factor is, and it's unfortunate, but so many things of how we are in this country starts with slavery.
Mm-hmm.
You know, besides the rice, the tobacco, you know what I'm saying, the sugar cane and everything else that we did, the physical labor to make this country rich, still the most uh, wealthiest part of America's fortune was our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And the plantations that were in Virginia specifically were just breeding plantations. So, young girls were expected to have a certain amount of children by a certain age. Young boys were expected to father a certain amount of children by a certain age. So, there was no sexual. Our sex was completely for the profit
Mm-hmm.
of America.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. You know what I'm saying? Like that driven into our heads. Also, because we weren't free to be ourselves, because if you look back at different civilizations and cultures in Africa and indigenous folk here, we had two spirit people, we
Mm-hmm.
had all kinds of different sexual expressions and relationships and things like that. Um, but also there was things like buck breaking. And buck breaking is where groups of white men would travel from plantation to plantation and rape black men. Sometimes those black men were suspected or charged with some kind of crime against the institution of slavery. Other times, those white men were just roaming around and looking for men to rape.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think that also provided a certain thing. Also, overseers, slave owners, and people within the community would rape us,
Mm-hmm.
and there was nothing that you can do about it. So I do think that there is, like, because of that, there is also this other kind of thing that is put on top of that. And then, within the fancy sex trade, which was, human traffic. I mean, all slavery was human trafficking,
Right.
but specifically sexual human trafficking here in America was basically uh, prostitution,
Mm-hmm.
where they would sell black women to different folk for sexual services. And I think, like, same kind of thing, black women were raped.
Mm-hmm.
Not only, like, it's always like the slave master, like, it's nah, slavery was a communal thing. The reason slavery was able to last as long as it did is because everybody kind of fucked with it.
Yep.
And mistresses and women would sexually exude, push their dominance
Mm-hmm.
over black women in the house, black women in the field, black women in the community.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that there's also that has weighed on us. And then also the way Christianity was forced on us, and Christianity was forced on us, but then Christianity also became the way that we survived. You know what I'm saying? Like everything that we did through the church to get free.
Yeah.
So there's like that love hate kind of situation there, and the way we learned Christianity was everything was a sin. Everything is an abomination. So I think that, and then couple that with the last aspect of it, like going back to the manhood specifically, is when you have somebody who is oppressing you and doesn't allow you to be yourself. So whether it's your full manhood, your full womanhood, just the autonomy over your body, you start to look for people who you can do that to have some sort of power. And I think that's we've seen that throughout generations in our own community, where it's like, you know, there was that amazing article that was talking about like black men have become the white men of our community because lashing out at black trans folk, lashing out at black gay and lesbians, and lashing out at black women, and trying to like exude this power for no fucking reason.
Right. Yeah. No, that is thank you for breaking that down so eloquently. I do think that that is, intersections, right? So all of this shit is about intersectionality. But our sex has always been presented as needing to be productive,
Yep.
right? And so, you saying that our bodies are like that's the product of slavery. And so in order for sex to be productive, and we get this in Christianity as well, which then it's like it all fucks with you because it's like, oh, men and women because for procreation to make babies, but it's like, is that Christianity or is that the marketing to use for
Building your empire.
right? And so I, I don't know the stories in the Bible very well to be able to say where that is. So and then I also think there's that layer of protection around in our communities. There's so many things that would produce fear or danger for us on the plantation evolved into things that we have this overprotection for our children here, like, oh, I don't want you to do that because you might get in trouble or thought to be this way. And so for our children that want to explore their bodies or want to explore their sexuality or their relationships, we get that, like, don't be like that.
Shit, even extending just to queerness in general, and by queerness I even mean like, you just do something that is not what they consider like the straight
and
line
narrow.
man woman. That's it. Even also during that time. Hold on, no, she was up close to the mic. She like, this shit got me riled up.
She said they used to do what? Who's children?
So like even thinking about it even more so in the sense of just queerness and not just the man woman kind of situation, like the rich white folk, slave owners, and just rich motherfuckers in general used to also force their slaves to have orgies that they would either watch or partake in. So I think that there's like a whole lot of aspects of sexuality that within our community we've kind of like closed ourselves off to. Like, look at how we look at BDSM. You know what I'm saying? Like, BDSM predates America, but because our whole framework and ideas of sexuality have been framed from being here because we have no connection to beforehand, there's a whole lot of sex and a whole lot of sexuality that we're just like, that's some other shit, or that's gay, or that's lesbian, or that's whatever, that ain't for us. So shit, even so much of when we started with Royal Fetish Films and we was talking about BDSM stuff, people were like, oh, that's some white people shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, completely cutting off sexuality and racializing it. You know what I'm saying?
So I think, when we are having these kind of conversations, I'm like, it feels good to share. It feels good to have these topics to really check in. Even, just like, where am I on the spectrum of things? What am I curious about? Who am I trying to attract with this radio show? Yeah, hit me up, but you got to be really clear, though, if you're hitting on me, because I'm socialized to think that you just want to go shopping with me and be my best friend.
I think every time you have shared with me a woman or just not a man, whether it's non-binary or someone who identifies as a woman, has hit on you, it always, you're like always like completely oblivious.
I'm so,
and it's always like, oh, they're really nice to me. Like, nah, I think they like you.
Like, nah.
Unless they lay that shit out and give you like a 10-point plan of how they are interested in you sexually or romantically.
I don't get it.
You're like, nah, I don't think they like you.
Yeah. She's like, they like you, Mom. Who doesn't like you? No, it makes me so anxious because I'm like, am I throwing away an opportunity? Am I friend zoning somebody? Like, it does have to be really clear, just because I haven't had I haven't had much of an opportunity to explore relationships outside of heterosexual relationships, to know the cues and sort of like the dating norms and things of that sort. So I kind of really just chalk it up to, oh, this person's being nice to me. I want to get to know them. And then, but I generally like the other partner to make more of a move, anyways. So y'all hit me up. Be forward, though. Really forward.
If Moonlight was about jet setting Jasmine, she'd be like, "Why are you in my restaurant right
What are you
now?
doing?
What are you
What are
doing
you doing
here?"
here? Why are you frequented every day? You got to be like Alicia Keys, when she was a waitress and she was like,
Hello, I need to speak to Michael. She
When-
broke that whole shit
she
down
did,
like
when it was still a dial tone. But
she
anyway,
did that shit like she had the old school operator putting plugs in the wall and shit.
she got that shit from Shirley. She called Michael like how Cheryl called Barbara called Shirley. Anyway, some of y'all are too young to know that reference. But when we're having these kind of conversations, I always wonder, like, like, do we still need to have them? Like, like, can't, everybody just, you could change your pronouns on social media. We have Pride Month. There's like so much out there that allows us to have um, more sexual freedoms. But then, as we're having these conversations, I'm like, no, we need to keep having them, because we have to help people understand, or just being able to share, like, some of the thoughts that you're having about your sex and sexuality, your attraction, your desire to have these experiences. Some of those thoughts may not be your own. The way that we're talking about, like, how some of this shit is passed on through generations, the layers that are on top of them. Um, the voices that we hear are
I'm like so thirsty.
no.
Got water dripping off my mouth and shit.
the the messages that we hear may not be our own preferences. They, come from, being a teenager and hearing like that's gay, as if that's a as if that's an insult.
Yeah.
So, I'm happy that we keep revisiting these type of topics, and even revisiting our own understanding of why are we wired this way. And maybe it is through your family, through your neighborhood, through your church, or maybe it is that generational trauma that was here before we were. Um, so a question that our producer posed is, how do we normalize sexuality on the spectrum so people feel comfortable enough not to lie, or not to hide behind, um, traditional, I don't even like saying traditional, just sort of social constructs. Any thoughts on that?
I truly believe that everybody needs to come out of the proverbial closet in a sense. You know what I'm saying? And by that saying, not physically, you don't need to have your sex outside of your own personal private spaces, but what it is you are into, and in that sense, I feel like because so many people are repressed, like there's oppression, there's repression, there's all that shit, that then they lash out at people who are open and free. So like there's a certain point where it's okay to be who you are, and like you might not have to make the public announcement to the world. You don't gotta put it on your social media and shit, but at least within your space with the people who you are engaged with sexually, should be able to let them know who you are and what you're about, as long as those things are, you know, safe and consensual, and with a fellow open, safe, consensual adults.
I think, also for those of us who have found our way, and when I say found our way, I'm like, not that you picked your box, your label, or your whatever, just like, you are comfortable with allowing you to lead you, and wherever you land on the spectrum. And that's the other thing too, is you can be interested in something now and change your mind later. I think that for many of us that didn't have sort of that that free range that we talked about that non people of color have, we're allowed to give ourselves that time back, and that experience back. But I think for those of us that have found our way, that we can help normalize it for other people by, I don't think that we need to be intrusive about people's sexual experiences, but even saying, like, instead of to our kids, like, I know you're going to be a heartbreaker, and, or he going to have all the girls, just like, you're a really attractive young man. Lots of people are going to want to spend time with you, or
Mm-hmm.
how we do with, and this will take us, into some other topics, but um, for young folks, like saying your partner, not always your girlfriend or your boyfriend.
Yeah.
Um, are you interested in any boys or girls, or even for our friends, just like, hey, come hang out at this party. There's going to be a lot of attractive people,
Mm-hmm.
not just like I want to introduce you to,
Yeah, kind of like
opposite
forcing
gender,
them. Yeah.
right? And you may not be the matchmaker, but just using that kind of language, letting them know, like, whoever you choose, whatever you choose, is fine with me. I'm not placing an expectation on you.
Yeah, you comfortable and safe.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think with also with normalizing, because like for example, a woman can say another woman is attractive.
Mm-hmm.
If a man says another man, oh, even if you say, yo, that's a nice shirt, motherfuckers might jump and be like, yo, that's gay. Why you looking at his clothes? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like that kind of stuff. I think it is very important to try and move away from that.
Mm-hmm.
Move away from calling someone gay or lesbian as an insult,
Yeah.
or like that could be a positive thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding that people have all kinds of sexual expressions, and I think conversations like this, and I think we might need to have a part two to this one to like go even deeper. But I do think the more it's expressed
Mm-hmm.
that people are people,
Yes.
and who people are attracted to is an individual thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're not into, if you're not gay, you're not lesbian, you don't need to worry about who someone else is fucking. Like, let go. Worry
Let
about your own
go.
shit. You know what I'm saying? Or if
Mm-hmm.
somebody is asexual,
Mm-hmm.
or if somebody is pansexual, whatever somebody is, really ain't got shit to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Let it go. Yes.
Let it go. Leave them the fuck alone.
Yeah. I want to just raise one last topic in closing, because there are a lot of folks who don't feel like they are queer enough,
Yeah.
to come up under the umbrella, the LGBTQIA umbrella, who feel like, I don't dress this way. So, and I was reading a thread about this, specifically about Black folks, and not subscribing to the stereotypes of any of the alphabet.
Mm-hmm.
So, therefore, not feeling like they fit in. And so, they're, again, that individuality, like, you bring that to that alphabet letter, whatever it is,
Word.
Uh, I think that is important. I also think it's important for those folks who do identify to broaden their perspective about their own community. So, those sort of inside jokes, or like, if you're, I don't want to even repeat them, but like, if you don't wear this, then you're not that. Like, stop that.
Yeah, you see that shit in the BDSM community too.
Certainly, same thing in the Black community.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're, again, repeating some of the ways of the oppressor when we do that. Like, if you a Black person, you got to dance, you got to play basketball, you not. It's like, no, no, that's not what makes me Black. That's not what makes me gay. That's not what makes me queer.
Yeah.
The clothes that I wear, the style of hair, the other type of partner that I'm attracted to,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is twofold. In order for us to normalize things, those people who feel very comfortable in their community have to challenge their perspective. Is it a welcoming and safe community for those who don't look exactly or express exactly like you? And for those that are seeking community or label, or are seeking understanding of their own sex and sexuality, just knowing that whatever they bring to that community as an individual is good enough.
Word.
So I'm gay enough, and we can sign off.
Word. Queer as is.
Queer as is. I love that. All right, cool. So, for people that are interested in seeing what else we talk about on here, where do they go? What do they do?
Go to our YouTube, go to all the different platforms, search for our names, and you might actually find some videos too and shit.
Yes, 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 yes. Make sure you go to royalfetishxxx.com
Yup.
and look for our socials at Fetish Radio. Look for our socials on Royal Fetish Radio. Where else? Are you here? Where are you at? You got kicked off of Snapchat.
I
so
just
now
got kicked off of Snapchat.
you don't
know
even want to
where
talk
I'm at
about
no
social
more,
media.
man. Fuck that shit.
At Royal Fetish Radio on Instagram, on Twitter, it is Royal Fet
I just
Radio.
want to get one of those boards where they be dancing outside with the board that sends people to kingnoirxxx.com.
You gonna get arrested. You gonna get arrested. You can look him up at Florida Department of.
No, that'd be a bad idea.
Don't do that. So, yeah, check out our other episodes, and special thank you to our Royal Fetish Entertainment team.
Yep.
All right.
I was trying to remember the tagline that Orlando had given us last time.
You can
That's
say it
like
again.
my brain was like completely lost.
In the dark.
Oh,
in the night.
Before and after dark.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, you listening to Royal Fetish Radio with Orlando laughing in the background. You're listening to Royal Fetish Radio, where we talk about sex before and after dark, meaning we'll fuck you in the daytime. Isn't that what that means?
I don't think so. But whatever.
In Sexico, in the sun.
Royal Fetish.